am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening, class.
Good evening.
Okay, good evening. No, so since we are done discussing with one of the macro skill, which is writing skills, now let us move on to another macro skill, specifically speaking skills. So what we'll be discussing is all about principles for teaching speaking skills. So before we proceed on the next slide, let me ask someone here first. May I call Miss Otida? Okay. What do you mean by the word accuracy in your own definitions only?
Accuracy is a clear, precise.
Okay, how about others? Miss Jamaica Postrano.
For me, the accuracy in the context of language learning is your ability to use the language appropriately or correctly in terms of its structures, syntax, or forms,
Okay,
yeah,
that
pronunciation and such, yeah.
okay, that's correct. So another one is fluency. Miss Oliverio. What do you think is the word what do you mean by the word fluency?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes po.
I think fluency is being able to speak in a specific language without or with like minimal pauses and wala na.
Okay, thank you so much. No, since we're focusing on speaking skills, the main key points for this topic will be accuracy and fluency. So next slide, please. Okay, again, accuracy is the extent to which matches what people actually say when they use the target language. And in simple terms, it refers to how accurate or relevant the information that you are sharing in relation to the topic that you are discussing. So another one is fluency. It is the extent to which the speaker use language quickly and confidently with few hesitations or unnatural pauses, false starts, word searches, and etc. So it also refers to the speaker's or the messenger's consistency of uttering a composed word. Moreover, we need to bear in mind a spectrum of learners' needs from language-based focus on accuracy to message-based focus on interaction, meaning, and fluency. So, since it is already given that students are diverse and if we are going to implement such assessments, we should make sure and of course, when we are going to focus on speaking, specifically in speaking, we should create an activity in which the student will be able to like have an opportunity to develop their speaking skills and they will also be allowed, they will also be able to use it in an authentic context. Okay. In addition, the students cannot develop fluency if the teacher is constantly interrupting them to correct their oral errors. Teachers must provide students with fluency building practice and realize that making mistakes is a natural part of learning a new language. And since we already know that we are not natives in this language, it is normal to have some errors in speaking, correct? Hello, correct? Okay,
Yes.
that's correct. Since in that case, if we're going to give our students some assessments, specifically kaning mga speaking assessment like reportings, we should allow them to like finish first their reporting before giving some corrections or some feedbacks about the report because the tendency if we are going to like interrupt them in the middle of their presentation, the momentum of the students performance will be cut na gets.
Yes po.
Okay, so
Yes.
the tendency if makat ang ilahang ang katong momentum of the reporting, ang affective filter of that student will rise up and it will result to kanang nervousness. So imbis na consistent ang performance sa student, the tendency is that pag makastop siya is maputol tong consistency niya and makulbaan siya samot kay tungod sa pag-interrupt sa teacher. So we should not practice kaning interrupting that the student when he or she is reporting in front. Okay, nasabtan ba?
Yes po.
Okay, so next slide please. Okay, so in principles for teaching and speaking skills, we do have these six principles. First, we have the encourage the use of authentic language and meaningful context. Next, we have provide appropriate feedback and correction, capitalize on the natural link between speaking and listening, give students opportunities to initiate oral communication, provide intrinsically motivating techniques, and lastly is encourage the development of the speaking strategies of students. So let us first discuss the first principle, which is the encourage the use of authentic language. So this theme has been played time and again. It is not easy to keep coming up with meaningful interaction. It takes energy and creativity to devise authentic context and meaningful interaction, but with the help of a storehouse of teachers' resource material, it can be done. So, we teachers must accommodate all of our students. And since accommodating of all of our students is impossible with the use of kanang one strategy only, what we will be doing is that sa atong classroom, we should create a classroom in which it is interactive. It will allow the students to learn, to enjoy while learning. So in that case, the kaning learning nila, the assimilation progress of their knowledge will be kanang pas good, and the materials or the NIM that we will be presenting to the students should achieve or should have impact to the students, and must also allow the students to like feel at ease when, for example, nagtudlo na ta, dapat ang IM nato kay murag mag-allow siya sa student na mag-learn na murag dili heavy, like murag dili siya kaning force pud the pag-learning, and mas memorable man gud ang learning, and mas ma-retain silang utok ang process, I mean the knowledge, if ang learning nila is consistent na murag ma-enjoy nila during learning. So aside from which, in terms of assessment, we should create an assessment that will allow the student to use the language in authentic tasks such as katong reportings and such. So another principle is to provide appropriate feedback and correction. In most EFL situation, students are totally dependent on the teacher for useful linguistic feedback. It is important that you take advantage of your knowledge of English to inject the kinds of corrective feedback that are appropriate for that moment. So I guess this is one of the most important principle that a teacher should have. So aside from giving comprehensive input, we should also provide feedback, because students will be able, because of feedback, the students will be able to know what part should be kaning revised, what part in their speaking should be kaning improve. And with that, those feedbacks that they got from the teacher, kay pwede nila himuon to constructive criticism to make it as a stepping stone for them to improve. Okay? So the next one is capitalize on the natural link between speaking and listening. So many interactive techniques that involve speaking will also, of course, include listening. Don't lose out on opportunities to integrate these two skills, as you perhaps focusing on speaking goals, listening goals may naturally coincide, and the two skills can reinforce each other. So just like what Ma'am Ngo and Ma'am Bell said, that if we're going to focus on an integrating a one macro skill, there will always be a macro skill that will coincide naturally, and that is not that thing must not be a hindrance for you to create an IM or an assessment for your students, because for example is katong sa ESP namo, since the target learners for our ESP is kaning tourism students, and of course when creating a lesson plan there must be a macro skill that is that must be applied to a specific lesson plan, correct? And for example, is activity na part. So the activity, one of our activities, speaking, is mock call activity. So the question is, how will the student be able to know what mock call is, and how will the student be able to like answer the mock call if the student kanang wala siya kadungog kung unsa ang mock call. So in that case, it is really normal and essential na murag mag it is really normal na there will be a separate na macro skill na mag-coincide because they are intertwined or interconnected. Okay, nasabtan?
Yes po.
Okay, do you have any question with regards to the first three principles?
Yan so far.
Okay, that's great. So now let us move on to the next one, which is to give students opportunities to initiate oral communication. So a good deal of typical classroom interaction is characterized by teaching initiation of language. Part of oral communication competence is the ability to initiate conversation, to nominate topics, to ask questions, and to control conversation and to change the subject. So just like what Ma'am Ngo kaning just like what Ma'am Ngo kanang ginahimo niya sa ato, if you can observe na every after report presentation sa atong klase kay she always ask us about something that is related to the topic or to the lesson that the reporters have discussed. So in that case, if we are going to implement um, that kind of strategy as well in our classroom, we will be able to initiate conversation with our students, and mao to siya maka-create siya good environment. As a result, the essence of this principle, which is kaning provide opportunities to initiate oral communication, will be achieved. So another factor is that providing a good energy as an educator, providing a good energy to your students will also be a good strategy for them to communicate with you or to have an interactive classroom with you. Kaya the tendency is if imuhang vibe or imuhang kanang murag aura good, like for example your students know that mamagsakay ka and you're strict and kanang dili ka murag approachable. In that case, your student will not have a good environment inside the classroom pag ikaw na ang ilang prof. So it is really important na as a teacher, you should also give a good environment to your student because you a teacher plays a crucial role in creating a good environment, a good classroom environment to be exact. Okay? Nasabtan?
Yes.
Okay, next, provide intrinsically motivating techniques. So, try at all times to appeal to students' ultimate goals and interests, to their needs, to their need for knowledge, for status, for achieving competence and autonomy, and for being all they can be. Even those techniques that don't send students to ecstasy help them to see how the activity will benefit them. So this simply means that there will be some students na that will see an activity that is not the activity as a game that will not give them pleasure or enjoyment. So in that case, what we will be doing as future educators is that we're going to enlighten them, we're going to inform them, or we're going to like iingon nato on sa essence ani na activity and what are the things that they might get if they will include themselves kato na activity. And aside from intrinsic na motivations, we also have extrinsic motivations, and these that we can also apply in our classroom, such as katong conditioning and reinforcement by B.F. Skinner. So they are all under behaviorism. So in this case, unsay may trabaho, if you're going to ask me unsay pulos aning extrinsic motivators, so para magka-urge ang students na murag i-include ang sarili. For example, is a reporting, all of students are diverse, and some students who are not into speaking. So the tendency is if magpatas ka sa ilaha og speaking na murag task, is some katong students na are not into speaking, dili sila murag wala sila gana. So in order for us to like to give them motivation, we can also apply this reinforcement, which is maghatag-tag prize. So mo ang condition. So if they will do well with their speaking task, then na sila prize. So mao na sila. So in that case, they will be their competitive personalities will kanang activated kay murag mo na sila na uy kailangan ako madaog ni or kailangan ako matarong ni kay na I prize na ako'y madawat. So that is the essence of reinforcement by B.F. Skinner. And lastly, we have encourage the development of speaking strategies. So the concept of strategic is one of the few beginnings in language. The concept of strategic is one that few beginning language students are given aware of. They simply have not thought about developing their own personal strategies for accomplishing oral communicative purposes. So, what we will be doing as future educators is that we will help the students to develop their personal speaking strategies through providing comprehensive inputs that will allow them to be confident in speaking. So, aside from that, if they will be able to acquire these six principles, since all of this principle has its own kaning essence, so they will be able to craft or to formulate their own speaking skills. They will get to learn something from each principle of this, and they can utilize those things that they have learned to create or to formulate a speaking strategy for themselves. Okay, nasabtan ba?
Ayo.
Okay. So, do you have any questions with regards to the principles of kaning teaching speaking skills?
None so far.
Okay. If wala, ako ang mangutana. Okay, sige. Hold up. Wait, mangita sa ako. Kinsa akong tawagan diri. Miss hold on. Miss Lapinia. Hello? Miss Lapinia. Hello? Okay, wala. I think wala siya. So, si Kuan na lang, si Mr. Guardario. How about Mr. Guardario? Hello?
Hello, sa ganito.
Okay. So, here's my question. So, among sa six na principle, what do you think is the most important principle? So, pamili lang isa. Na feeling nimo kuan siya, mao'y pinaka-importante na principle. So there are six principles to give opportunities to initiate oral communication, wait lang. Provide intrinsically motivating techniques, encourage the development of speaking strategies, encourage the use of authentic language in meaningful context, and provide appropriate feedback and correction. Lastly is capitalize on the natural link between listening and speaking.
I think I would go with the intrinsic one, is that would drive us for the learner to be eager to learn the language. Although most of the principles are important, as long as we have the intrinsic motivation to learn how to speak, I think that's a starter to continue learning the language.
Okay, that's correct, no? So all of these principles are essential and important, and um, as what have Mr. Gordario mentioned earlier na one kaning mas important daw for him is ang katong intrinsic. So it is really important because in this matter the students will be able to know the reason why they need to kanang murag ano sa term ano niya basta they need to murag interact with that specific aspect or kaning specific activity. Okay, so that will be all. Thank you.